again. Good evening, DNewTech members. Hey, appreciate for coming out on this cold weather. We got a great evening tonight. And let's give a hand out to our host here from Atomic Object for giving us a great venue. Well, like always, we want to first say thank you to our sponsor. Without them, I mean, we definitely wouldn't exist this long. It's going on, I'd like to say going on a third year, but Maria, if she was here, she would say it's really only 2.5 years. I like to say going on a third year. So basically, when I say thank you for Wisdom, Wisdom is a great incubator. They have a great accelerator program. You heard it's actually out there in the Madison building. And then we got Start Gardening out of Grand Rapids. I mean, they've been a big sponsor of us in helping us, as well as we're trying to do more on the west side of Michigan, trying to collaborate when there's opportunities to do that. We got Core Merchant, a startup company based out, actually it's part of the Wisdom family, and they're based out here in Detroit. Quicken Loans, a big hand out to them too, because it's Josh Linkner and, gosh, I can't remember who the CEO of Quicken Loans is. Dan Gilbert. They've actually let us use so many of the facilities. We got the Chase building, the Madison building, and the one that they just opened up in the, well, actually, Compuware building too. So they've been a big supporter of the DNewTech. And then lately, we just got a new sponsor. It is the Mid-Michigan Innovation Center out in Midland. I mean, we're going everywhere around the state here to gather sponsorship. We'll get it any way we can. And so what has happened is, Okay, great. So basically, what we're doing is that we're, they're in an accelerator program. They're actually one of the smart zones that are considered as part of MEDC, and they're run by Ken Kowski, who's the president of the Blue Wire Angels, but also president of the Mid-Michigan Innovation Center. And have you ever been to one of their events, Boost Michigan? They tend to do a really good job organizing that. So if you have a startup, you have an opportunity to pitch, that's something you guys want to look out for, Boost Michigan. So with that, those are our sponsors. So today, basically, it's the end of the year. This is our last DNewTech, and then we'll have one in January. But this is a great opportunity to say thank you for everyone to just continue to come out and supporting the DNewTech. And so what I'll start off into doing is introducing Carl here. Again, my partner in crime, Milton, usually is the one who's emceeing this whole event, but he passed the bucket tonight because he too has a startup company, and apparently he's doing very well. I think he was runner-up third year in a row at the accelerator competition. So they've got quite good business going on right now. But I want to introduce you to Carl Erickson. He's going to be our guest speaker tonight. He is not only the president, but also the co-founder of Atomic Object. Basically, I'm going to read his bio here. He's come from the ashes of the dot-com bust startups and into a 40-person software design and development consultancy with offices in Grand Rapids and now Detroit, and have clients all over the world. Atomic has built webs, mobile, and embedded software products for clients ranging from startups to huge multimedia companies or multinational companies. Before founding Atomic in 2001, Carl was the professor at the Grand Valley State University for the Computer Science Department. And Carl has a blog on the subject of building and running a successful software development company. And it's called Great Not Big. It's great as in great, not big.com, all one word. Again, we have a lot of guest speakers in the past who talked about their successes, where they were, how they ventured into the startup business and then became successful. I've always looked up to them. As a matter of fact, being able to sell my software just recently to kind of not as fortunate as multi-millionaire, but able to sell the technology. I was able to follow these guys as my mentors. So I'm going to give up to Carl to let him talk about what he's going to talk about today. So let's give it up to Carl. Thank you.
Move this delicate contraption That's, just to be clear, that's 99% of our sales in the US and 1% in the rest of the world. Small exaggeration. Okay. I'm going to share a little bit about my entrepreneurial story, because I understand that's the tradition here, and tell you a little bit about where Atomic is today. And then I'm going to dive into how we've partnered with software partners to create new products and companies and what we've learned from that. So first, a little bit about my life. My life fits neatly into decades for some miraculous reason. So the 60s and the 70s, I was a little kid. In the 80s, I spent the entire decade in higher education, first at Purdue and then at MSU for grad degrees. In the 90s, I stayed in higher education. I was a professor on the other side of the table, so to speak, computer science at Grand Valley. And then since 2000, essentially, an entrepreneur, Atomic Object. This, of course, leaves out a few little important life events, like being married for 25 years and having 2 wonderful children and all that stuff. This timeline also ignores a short but vital transition, which I want to be more honest about. This makes a better story if you say that I bravely stepped from the last safe job in the state of Michigan, which is to say being a university professor, and went right to founding my own company. Sounds great that way. But the truth is different. The truth is, I hedged my bet and I took an intermediate step. Delta Mode was a startup company in the big software boom of the late 1999, 2000 period. .com, that wasn't really a .com company, but it was software. And it was headquartered down in Austin. Couldn't hire software engineers in Austin to save your life in 1999, 2000. So a former student of mine and partner in this company persuaded me to take a leave of absence and start the development, do the development in Grand Rapids, where the booms are never as high and luckily the busts are never as low. So I thought that sounds like a great idea. I was looking for some new venture after teaching for 10 years. So I did that, and a few months after I had resigned my tenure track position, they ran out of money. They didn't get their second round of financing. So that was like the late summer of 2001. And I probably could have gone back to my university job there, but I didn't even consider it. And I think there's a reason I didn't consider it, which I'll hit in a second. But imagine in September of 2001, we literally opened our bank account on September 11th. Here's what I had to work with. Extreme programming practices. These were brand new at the time. We'd been using them for a year in Delta Mode. We've gotten very good at it. We saw the promise. It was very exciting times. We couldn't talk about it because who wants to do extreme programming? It sounded radical and crazy and bungee jumping. But they were very effective. We had a bunch of old obsolete computers. We had the remains of a lease. And then we had this awesome office furniture and that ladder, which I still have today. I call it my $10,000 ladder because I didn't get my last paycheck from Delta Mode, and that was my ladder instead. So the most important, and of course I had my partner and 3 interns from Grand Valley. Those are the most important things, really. But I also had 2 other things that made a big difference. I had confidence in myself and my partner and our practices, what we could do together, and I had ignorance. I didn't know anything about running a business. No proper degrees whatsoever, no real experience in business, didn't know anything. I think that it was my confidence that made the difference in terms of getting us through to where we are today. And I got that confidence a lot from my partner. I think it was also my ignorance that's responsible for some of the ways we do things today that are different than a lot of other companies. So here's what Atomic is today. Magic transition incorrect. We have 2 offices in Grand Rapids and Detroit. You're obviously in the Detroit one. We started in Grand Rapids, obviously. Very similar building. I don't know why that could have ever possibly have been. When we went space shopping over here, it was a really interesting exercise to find out how important physical space was to our company, our culture, our people. So that's why this one looks just like that one. But most importantly, here's Atomic, at least the Grand Rapids team. I actually had a picture of the Detroit team. So we're 42 people between the 2 offices. We're developers and designers and testers. Collectively, I call these people makers, so that I don't have to distinguish. And we all share a passion for software craftsmanship. We also share a very strong culture and a set of values. 5 or 6 years ago, I took the time to wrap pithy words around our values. I didn't invent the values. I just observed them, and then I put names around them. So we have these 5 value mantras, which gives you a little bit of idea, I think, of who we are. The first one is, give a shit. We use this when we hire. We use this when we decide about expectations for people. We hold ourselves to these standards. They're the kind of people we want to hang around with, people who care about themselves, about the company, about their projects and their customers. Teach and learn is our second value mantra. I'm doing that right now, I hope. I hope you learn a little bit of something from me. So that's the teach side of it. We also spend a lot of time learning because we're a consultancy. And we don't focus on one industry segment or one technology stack. So we have to be able to learn things quickly, and we learn a lot of stuff. Share the pain. It's our third value mantra. If there's something that needs to be done, the best way to do it is by sharing that burden. Own it. Own it is where your give a shit gets put into action. You observe a problem, you take action, you own that problem, you take care of it. You feel personal responsibility for your projects and your customer relationships and for the people you work with in your own career. And then lastly, the fifth value mantra is act transparently. This is the one we added most recently, which is kind of curious because it is so core to our company. And in fact, I think that's why we didn't recognize it at first. It was the one that was added on later, because it is so core that we take it for granted. So act transparently shows up in all of our business practices, both internal and external. We're an open books company, so all of our employees understand and know the profit and loss statement every quarter. I teach a class called The Economics of AO, so everybody understands how the company works. All of our customer projects are done in a fashion that the customer is fully exposed to everybody on the team. There's no intermediaries. We have very open accounting when it comes to customers in terms of progress and where things stand. Lots of transparency. So what we do is pretty simple to describe. We build software products for other companies. So we do software product development. I just wrote a blog post about this problem that industry has, which is every single company I know is like Atomic, has a different name for what we do. And that's not a problem per se until you're a customer trying to find companies like that and you don't know what to Google for. So I think it is a bit of a problem, actually. The kind of products we build are web and desktop and mobile and embedded. Pretty broad, obviously. We don't specialize in one domain or another. So that's some example screenshots of some recent web or mobile projects. This one was actually a kiosk. We also do embedded development, which is kind of unusual to practice across all four of these domains. So this is smart tractors for John Deere, automated guided vehicles, electronic safety systems in cars like lane avoidance and lane departure warnings, color instruments, high technology for measuring color and those kind of things. This is the software that's in devices that's all around us that we don't ever see. We don't think about it as a computer on an everyday basis. No screens, usually. We do this for clients ranging from the Fortune 500 to startups and everybody in between. We started in 2001, and up through 2004, almost all of our revenue came from literally a 10-mile radius around the office. And our first out-of-state customer came in 2005. And now, for the last 5 or 6 or 7 years, about half our revenue is from out of state. So we're a service export company. We're bringing money into the state of Michigan by selling our expertise. We set our office up for collaboration and communication because that's what we know to be the key towards good teamwork. Our model, our business model, if you will, is poly-skilled, co-located, self-managing teams of makers. That's the architecture of the company. The poly-skill refers to the fact that we have, while we employ people whose degrees say design or software development, we don't think about people in little boxes that way. We think about the team being responsible for building the best possible software product they can for the budget that they have. And that means there's a lot of cross-teaming, cross-functionality, and people overlapping, developers doing design, designers doing design implementation, which looks like code, etc. Clients interact frequently and directly with their teams. There's no project managers or account managers, no intermediaries. Typical, almost all of our projects range in size from 2 people to 8 people. So 8 would be a big project for us. This is why we exist. This is our why. If you know Simon Sinek, you know about his idea of the why. This is our why. To build great software and get better at doing it. This is what we all share. Notice that this doesn't say anything about what kind of software you build or who our software helps. That's because we are what I like to call an innovation services firm. We are good at building software products, and we sell our skills as a service to our clients. Service companies are like sharks. Sharks never stop swimming. At least I hope this to be true, because it makes a fantastic story. I don't honestly know much about sharks. Service companies have lots of advantages to them. They incubate talent. I think that's a really important role. Makers, at least at Atomic, get exposed to a lot of different industries, a lot of different technologies. As a service company, we're not directly exposed to the market risk of the products that we build. Our clients are taking that risk. We do a lot of greenfield development because that's what we're good at doing. Our makers can focus on the task, on their craft and getting better at it rather than on maintenance or politics. That's a big advantage. But this is not the easiest way to make a living. It's not the easy way to make a living because you don't know what you're going to work on next, so you constantly have to be reinvesting in your own skills and your own professional development. You're only as good individually and collectively as a company as your last project. And so you can't afford failures. You always have to be better than other service firms to get selected, and you're oftentimes competing against an internal team, which has a huge cost advantage. So there's some hard things about it. The big downside of service firms, however, is that they have no financial leverage. There's basically hour out, dollar in. No leverage. Atomic can never stop doing projects. If we do, we just go away. We die. There's nothing left. With a product company, you can solve a problem once and then sell that solution multiple times, which is kind of handy at times. So you think about it, just cranking out the factory and making widgets and selling those widgets. Almost every product development company that I'm aware of has experimented with or converted to or dreams of having products or some blend of the two. I think service and product companies are so drastically different that there are real problems in trying to put them together. They require very different kinds of people. Their economics are entirely different. Their focus is very different. And I don't know that you can be good at both. I think it's very difficult to add a product to a services company. That's usually the dream. Your service clients should always take priority, so they're always booting out your product development efforts. It takes leadership's time and energy away from the service core. And service firms don't have critical people like marketers and product owners and support and sales staff. We just don't have all the right resources. Over the last 8 years, we've developed a hybrid model that allows us to create new value without just growing our services firm. I'm quite keen on that because I think how we operate and what we do works really well in the 30s. And one of the reasons that our office in Detroit is here because we wanted to be able to continue to help more people, but we didn't want to just get Grand Rapids indefinitely bigger. So this is the other way that we can grow and add value without actually growing headcount. So our partnership model looks like this. We partner with people to create software products and even companies to sell that software. We've just formed our 12th partnership since we started doing this about 8 years ago. Some of these have been equity ownership kinds of deals. Some of them have been revenue shares. Some are royalties. So a lot of diversity in the legal relationship. What's common is that we take some of the risk of the product when we do these kind of deals. And then, of course, we benefit if the product or the company is successful. Our partnership model is nice because it respects the reality of a services firm, which is still what we are. The work done looks just like a project. So we can treat it just like a project, a peer to all of the other projects that are running in the office. There's no tempting to be stealing from it. The partner provides leadership capacity, so it's not we're not losing leadership capacity for the services firm. The success if they're successful, we create new value without actually growing. That's great. And then the right partner makes this a sustainable strategy because they don't require ongoing support from Atomic, so it's budded off and it's separate from. So I'm going to live tonight a couple of our value mantras. Number one, act transparently. I'm going to share very openly our successes and our failures, and teach and learn, I hope. So I'm going to share some mistakes that we've made, some lessons we've learned, and then what our track record is in this area. So this is a visualization of the 11 efforts. The 12th just started last week, so I didn't put it on the slide. The size of the rectangle is proportional to the number of hours that were put into the effort by us. That's also that number there. And then there's a timeline, 2003 through 2011, and each rectangle is lying approximately on top of the months over which the project ran. there's a code to the colors here. Gray is complete bust, total failure, gone. Yellow is marginal success. Something came positive out of it, but maybe not enough. The reds are story yet to be concluded. These are active companies that we're hoping to be successful, but we don't really know yet. And then the blues are unqualified successes, both for our partners and for us. When I calculated the internal, I thought about this, like if I was a VC and I had invested in these companies, then I would have this portfolio, and I could calculate an internal rate of return on this portfolio. So I should go and do that. So I went and did that, and I came up with an internal rate of return of 27%, which isn't amazing, but it's not too bad when you consider the fact that I was not counting in any of the potential future value of the greens and the reds. So as an example of that, the green is a revenue share, royalty kind of a deal, which has 2.5 more years to run, so that'll continue to pay off to us every quarter, assuming nothing horrible happens to the company that we partnered with, which is a big, well-established company. I don't think that's going to happen. The blue Medora slide is a company that's 5 years old that we incubated literally out of our office with space that we put into the partnership. And that company just will close next week on a $1.25 million round of funding to take that thing to the next level and grow it substantially. And the pre-money valuation we got on that was $6 million. So we, together with our partner, created a lot of value there. And my 27% IRR doesn't count any of that value, basically, none of the terminal value. So I think we've done pretty well. That's approximately the same as our margin for the services business. And yet we've created all this upside. So now I'm going to share some of the lessons we've learned and what we look for in partners. So we call this stuff spec dev. It's a shorthand for speculative development, which is obviously purely from our perspective, speculative development. So first thing is, we don't do just startups. This is what we look for in partners. We've done deals with established companies, and we've proposed deals with established companies. So far we've only done one of these, but I think there's potential there. So it doesn't have to just be a startup. We look for full coverage between the two partners. So Atomic brings product development skills to the table. We bring architectural wisdom. We bring, obviously, technology experience, and then development process and practices. Our partner should bring sales and marketing and maybe domain expertise and knowledge, and then also ability to operationalize something. What we share usually is the creation of a culture, at least the start of it, and then, which I think is a very important thing for a sustainable company to be successful. And then secondly, fundraising. We found that it's, for our startup companies, it is very handy to have Atomic as a partner when you go for fundraising, because you can give the people who you're pitching confidence about your ability to handle the technology and not screw up the software development. A difficult one that lies in the middle is product ownership, and that's one we struggle with. Should probably be in the hands of the partners. Sometimes it's not, and that's something we're still working on. So. Who we like? We don't like people who are too early, which sounds kind of crazy when I'm talking to DNewTech. But if you're still in that stage using lean startup practice names, you're still in that stage of looking for a product market fit, that's probably too early to partner with us. Because you're not able to quit your day job likely, you don't need high throughput software development, which we're so good at, so you're just a little too early. We use a rule of thumb to indicate when you're ready, and that is, can you quit your day job? And that might be because you have a little bit of funding, that might be because you've had past successes, that might be because you can eat ramen noodles for the whole time. But you need to be able to quit your day job. You should have the knowledge of some market, know what the problem is, and actually sometimes, while this is very valuable, it's a critical factor, you have the idea essentially, it can also be a problem if you have bad relationships in that market or prior encumbrances. We run into that. We don't like people who are just looking to get rich. That's the wrong motivation, and we won't partner with people like that. We are looking for people who want to change the world in some way, or build a company, or solve a hard problem. Those make good partners. And usually, people who are looking to do those things have a better shot at getting rich than the people who just look at it as, I want to get rich. If they use the word pillow money, straight out. We also look for deal simplicity. So deal terms and legal docs can get complicated, as I'm sure you're all aware. And because of that, we've been tempted in the past to occasionally just basically start working in an informal arrangement, and we've been burned having done this. So we don't do that anymore. And what we like to see, if it's possible, if there's going to be funding, we like to piggyback with that funding. So the 12th deal we're doing, we're piggybacking with a group called the Grand Angels over in Grand Rapids, which is an angel network. And we're able to come in on their paperwork and their deal and make our investment that way. That's really nice. So that's what we look for. Now I'm going to share a little bit about what we've learned. And this part would be great to take questions. And I'd be more than happy. I don't mind being interrupted at all. 10 years of teaching at the university level gets you pretty good at answering stuff on your feet. So you should test me. So the first lesson that we've learned is software is never the bottleneck. Oftentimes our partners think it is, but it's never the bottleneck. If only it were so, because we can build a lot of software. So if that was the bottleneck, man, we'd all be successful. But it's not. Customers, time, and money are usually the limiters of success, not software. Customers, time, and money. So one of the symptoms that you see of this misunderstanding or this problem is when our partner thinks that adding features is more important than refining their sales and marketing, that they're ignoring that side of the business and they just want to add more features because they think that's the way they're going to get success. Another thing that we've learned to watch out for is software first, customer second. So this is a problem of emphasis in the early stages of building the company. The symptom here is a lack of early focus on awareness of the product, on conversion of people from knowing about it to using it, and engagement in general. And most often we see, let's build the software and then we'll think about these things. And we think it should be reversed. Let's think about these things early on and not put software focus first. Another thing that we've learned is that enterprise software has a lot going for it. So it isn't anywhere near as sexy as public-facing, world-changing, consumer-oriented, horizontal applications. On the other hand, there's a huge need. It's much easier to define that need. There are many fewer customers, so it's a lot easier to market to them. And it's a big market. It's $295 billion or something silly like that. And strangely enough, not much capital flows into enterprise, into startups focusing on the enterprise. And all the attention, and I say the sexiness, is on the public-facing stuff. So there's a lot of value to be unlocked here, and not many people chasing after it. We're really excited about this. Another thing that we think is very valuable is to think like an angel, by which I mean, of course, angel investor. So we bring value to our partnerships by thinking like an investor and not a development vendor. And sometimes this inversion of the relationship isn't always smooth. So if we get introduced to a partner because they're looking for a development vendor, then the power is on their side. You know, we're going to pick a vendor, we might consider you. We're trying to convince them they should consider us if we like the person, it's a good match. But it's their choice. As soon as they ask us to become partners and to invest, then, well, suddenly the power relationship inverts, and now you got to convince me as an investor to invest with you. And sometimes that is a little bit rocky. Sometimes we might be the only investor. You know, with Blue Medora, we bootstrapped it. We didn't need money. The two parties brought enough money and time together to the table that we didn't need external money. So in that case especially, we play a really important role by acting like an investor and thinking about it. And we want to know all the usual stuff. Who are you building this for? What is it you're building? How are you going to do it? And why do people care? We expect to see thought and energy being put into answering questions along those lines. We love to see business ecosystem models, not business plans. We want to know that you're aware of the competition. A value curve is a nice way of representing that. We expect compelling, clear, simple pitches, even if there aren't other investors. We want an analysis of market risk, and we want to see that there's adequate capital both today and for where you're going in the future. So by acting like investors, I think we de-risk and sharpen the chances of success. We also want to plan for sustaining success. Some of our ventures didn't address the question of sustainability. The successful ones did. And what that means is after the product is in the market, there needs to be a plan for who maintains it. Who's going to support it? Who's taking the calls from upset users? Who sells it? How are you going to market it? Who's doing that work? So we encourage our startup customers to make their first technical hires, in addition, of course, to other hires, during the initial development phase. And then we plant them into our team so that those people understand their code base and know how it's hosted and maintained and all that good stuff. The right team is absolutely critical, and the right team isn't necessarily just the partner we've chosen and us. There might be some missing pieces, and that needs to be addressed. If you don't have the right team by the time the product's in the market, you're going to be in trouble. And then lastly, not being all in. This might be smart for an investor early in the process, as I mentioned, when they're using lean startup practices to keep their day jobs and not be fully committed, not have burned the boat, so to speak. For the ventures that we do, we want people to be all in and thinking about their problems 24/7. We want all that shower time to go into the product that we're building together and the company that we're trying to create. Symptoms of this problem, of not being all in, are thinking that, well, we'll build this product and we'll get enough cash flow to support Dev and me after we get our initial launch. This is very naive, and in theory it might be able to be possible under some circumstances, but I think in general it's not possible. So we want to see our partners burning their boats and jumping into this full-fledged effort the way we do. So that's what we've learned about good partners and successful software startups. And I would be very happy to take questions. Yes?
Just a question about your marketing strategy. How do you acquire these clients?
Through things like this, they find us. We're easier to find than they are. This is one of our problems. I'd love to be able to reliably find the right kind of partners.
Right.
But it's just talking to people and reputation.
Right.
Yeah, I wish they were.
Word of mouth.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, in the very back.
How does your organization make decisions and handle disputes?
Make decisions about what to invest in, or in general?
What to invest in, what direction to take, what should be our vision, what should be our budget, the operational issues plus the strategic issues. And if there are disputes in that, how do you handle those disputes?
So we decide on what to invest in by, there's 3 people at the company that we call the upfront team, at least in Grand Rapids. And the upfront team has additional responsibilities for the company to make these investment decisions. So it acts like an investment committee, and our board, which is internal people, not external people, senior people, we're an employee-owned company. I only own now about 55% of the company, and the other 45% is owned by employees of the company in our own little employee stock purchase plan. Anyway, the board approves these investments, but the executive committee is in charge, the 3 people are in charge of investigating and deciding and recommending. And then, once we're in partnership, we insist that our partner be a majority owner. We don't want to be the majority owner. And we want that because we want that person to be independent of us and to care all about that and to drive that to success. Now, we have a lot to share, and we expect to be treated as a valuable strategic partner and be involved in decisions and be able to help. But when push comes to shove, it's their decision. So that's why we have to pick our partners very carefully. Internally, we're a very flat organization, and we do a lot of things by getting together and talking about it. When we have a new thing that arises that we're not sure exactly how to do it, or what the policy should be, or what the guidelines should be, and we'll oftentimes just talk about it internally. Ultimately, we make a decision that is supported by everybody, so no one's surprised, or supported by many people, so no one's surprised. So pretty. It's a benign dictatorship legally, I guess, but on the other hand, it's also very consultative because that's my style.
Your amazing reputation, everybody guys precedes you, so
Thanks.
great stuff here. So, do you guys actively look for programmers, or is the people that work here? Is it the duration of time they're here a long time, 7 to 10 years? And if so, is it, or since not 7 to 10, but since you started, is that a big part due to the employee stock purchase plan. And I don't know if my last final question is, can you talk about that employee stock purchase plan a little bit so we can understand how that works?
Sure. So about a quarter of our people are in that like 0 to 5 years range, and another half are in the 5 to 10, and a quarter are over 10 years of career experience. We have very high retention. People are happy at Atomic and stay. Sometimes other things take them away, or sometimes we make hiring mistakes and have to fess up to those and part ways. But generally have very high retention. We don't use recruiters. People, the kind of people we want to hire tend to be able to find us pretty easily, and so it's just a matter of determining is it a good match or not. We can definitely use some more people in this lovely space in case anyone's looking. And we're definitely actively hiring. The employee ownership is something that I started doing in the summer of 2009 when I recognized that at my age, I'm 50, at the time I was, well, even right now, I'm substantially older than our average age. It tends to be a pretty young demographic. I think our average age is around 28. And so I realized, geez, I'm going to want to be out of this business before most of these people are. And I'd seen a lot of my business colleagues, have a successful business and get to be 65 and then like, oh my goodness, I don't know who's going to take it over. I don't know how to get the value out of it for myself that I've created. And they just sort of fall off a cliff. And most of the time that meant going to an outside buyer. And I didn't want that to happen. We had a culture of ownership well before we had actual legal ownership. And so my employee purchase plan was basically acknowledging the culture of ownership and planning for the day when I wanted Atomic to be successful and independent of my day-to-day involvement. And so we just made something up. It turned out an ESOP was very complicated and expensive for the 12, 15-person company we were at the time. So we didn't do that. We just made it up. And after looking at a lot of ideas, decided that the simplest thing that could possibly work, which is a good extreme programming idea, was just to sell shares to individuals. And I arranged some financing to make that happen, and we just did a second round of that a couple of months ago, actually. And in that second round, I went down to roughly 55%. In January, we're actually instituting something that does exist that I didn't make up, called an ESPP, an Employee Stock Purchase Plan, which is an ERISA covered, like federal IRS approved thing. And that is like what a big company would have, where you can buy a little bit of stock every month through payroll deduction. And so everybody in the company now, there are currently 14 owners and 42 employees, but as of January, every single employee who's worked for us for more than a year will be able to buy in a little bit of the company's shares. And they'll be the real deal. It'll be, everybody has the same currency, basically. It'll be shares in the company.
So then do you have to check your valuation every 6 months? Like how do you come up with your valuation?
Worse yet, doing the valuation is such a hassle that I decided the only way to possibly deal with it was to do the valuation every single quarter, because that'll force us to get better at doing it. We came up with our own model. I investigated and found 12 different ways of valuing companies like ours and decided on our own model based on a combination of factors. And what I realized is there is no absolute truth out there, and that the correct valuation is what I'm willing to sell for and employees are willing to buy for. And it's fully transparent, so everybody has the model, they know how it's calculated, and they can play with it. So that made the big difference too. Question here.
Just curious, are they voting shares or non-voting shares?
They are voting shares. Yeah. And someone had a hand over here. No?
Someone was interested in talking to your company about being a partner. What's the best way to go about that process?
Start a conversation with me.
What do you call it, the benevolent dictator? Or?
The benevolent dictator? I'm becoming less and less dictator-like. It's awesome. The succession plan is working. Yes?
I applaud you for the transparency that you say your company has. I don't know your company all that well. What have been the challenges in doing that?
I have a great blog post on that very subject, Great Not Big, because on the surface it's like, oh, transparency, it's all roses and goodness. No. There are real challenges. And when I come through the hard times, I say that the answer to these real challenges is not to say no more transparency, but rather to educate people about this, to talk about this, and to have more transparency. So Transparency sets you free is sort of my attitude. But so the things I've run into in the past that have been frustrating is we have an open office space, as you saw, and I'm sitting out with everyone else. I don't have a private office, and sometimes people will overhear me talking with like Bruce, our managing partner here in Detroit, or Sean and Mike in Grand Rapids, the people who are on my team. And they might hear me talking about things I'm worried about, or they might hear me bitching about something or other. And it might be because I had a fight with my wife, or I'm frustrated with my 17-year-old son, or something like that. It might have nothing to do with the work, but overhearing it, they can become concerned, and then that can spread, anxiety. And so that's one of the downsides of transparency. That's sort of a small one, I guess. Transparency requires more work. When you start sharing information with people, they want to know what the heck's going on. So you got to educate them. So we have to teach this class periodically. It also requires more patience, because if people know, they want to have a voice and influence decisions. And that just takes time to get more people involved and at least get their opinion, even if they're not making the decision. So there's some friction there. There's a little bit of overhead. 100% worth it, I think, in the long run. But there are some burdens to bear. Yes, Ed, sure.
Yeah, so for tax purposes, how are you set up? Just as a domestic?
LLC.
LLC, okay. All right.
Yes. This is going to be tricky, I think, maybe where you're thinking here. It's going to be interesting come April of 2014 when people who are participating in our ESPP are getting little tiny K1s that they'll have to, consider in their tax planning, because they will be full members of the LLC.
Is there an expectation when you partner with some of the startups that you'll get a return on investment or a buyout, something like that?
We are very good investors in the sense that I'm open to either outcome. It doesn't have to just be a buyout, an acquisition. So Blue Medora, for example, has been operating for 5 years and is a profitable company, and I think is going to be an even bigger, more profitable company in the future. And I am perfectly satisfied with that, because we'll be getting a dividend stream from that. And I'm still very much engaged with that business. I know what's going on. I trust that partner. And so I know everything there is to know. And I just as soon have sort of an annuity, if you will, of revenue coming into the company from Blue Medora that goes into our profit sharing system. We share 25% of our net margin with employees every quarter. And so that'll be a nice contribution to that. I don't need a buyout to make it a success for us, which is not like most investors. Rebecca?
For your partnerships, obviously there's a financial component to that. Is there also a governance component to that? Are you on the boards of these companies? Or do you have a more informal advisory relationship with them? What does that look like?
So it starts informal and advisory, and there are minority ownership protection rights built into operating agreements and such. And if it gets to the point where it's more than just me and a partner, if it becomes a board, for example, then yeah, I take a board seat.
Your model seems to be a lot like the Zingerman model out in Ann Arbor and Delhi, and I applaud both, and thank you for taking the time to discuss this. The issue, though, is scalability of your organization. What are your thoughts about that? How big do you think you can scale? And if you had the good fortune of doubling tomorrow, would you do anything different?
So Great Not Big was sort of founded in the idea that it's not a question of either or, that it's a question of priorities. I want to be great, and ironically, by being great and having a great company, there's pressure to get bigger, because you continually generate demand for your services, and as you can find good people, you can get bigger. Opening other branches of our company through a strategy of autonomy and extension, extending the brand, extending the values, extending the business practices, extending the marketing, and then operating autonomously, like Bruce does over here, is an answer to that question for the service company. How can we scale without actually getting bigger in any one location and sort of screwing it all up? Because I don't think it does scale indefinitely on the services side. The other way of scaling is with these partnerships. We create new value and don't have to hire people. Zingerman's was actually a very influential thing on me. I met them early through a friend early in the years of our company, in a book called Small Giants that you're probably familiar with. I actually had, this morning I was in Grand Rapids listening to Bo Burlingham, the author of that book, doing a summit of Summit of Leadership or something. It was cool to hear him talk. That was very influential.
Have you found it easier to hire in Grand Rapids than Detroit?
I don't know if it's any easier. It seems to be hard in both places. And there's certainly a huge deficit right now of talent in both design and development. So it's hard everywhere in the country, I believe. But it's also hard because as a consultancy, we not only want really talented developers and designers, but I want people who can interact very effectively with their clients, which means talking about money and talking about deadlines, considering the emotional state of their clients and taking responsibility for that. So I can't afford to have brilliant people who I can stuff in the back and like throw food over the wall and get stuff out. That doesn't work for us. So it's a pretty steep set of filters to find the right people, and that's hard no matter any time you do it.
So it's that flat, like so if you're doing work for Kellogg, your developers doing the database backend may talk to one of the reps at Kellogg about the stuff. The rep's not going through you.
Yeah, exactly. Which is cool. It's a scalable aspect of our business because we have probably 15 projects running at any given point in time, and I don't know what's going on, and it's awesome. Yep.
Yeah, back to source code typically.
Well, if it's a partnership, then the partnership owns the source code.
So how do you manage multiple hands have access to the same source code?
Well, so what I'm talking about when I say enterprise software is we build a software product. For instance, Blue Medora, it's the best example of this that we've done, build software that helps monitoring and management packages like Tivoli and Oracle Enterprise Manager monitor big software systems. So Tivoli didn't know how to monitor PeopleSoft until we built an agent to do that. And then Oracle Enterprise Manager didn't know how to monitor VMware until we built an agent to do that. And so that's our source code and our software. We control it. We being the Blue Medora in that case. And it's very cohesive, and it's just one ownership over that.
What about the case of like Oracle there's one of your customers? Do they own the source code?
When we do business with a customer as a service, like fee for service kind of thing, they own all the software. Our customers pay us to develop software. They own the software. That's how I feel very strongly that that's like the right way to have that relationship. We've never done anything else. So our customers own their software.
Does anyone have more questions for Carl? No.
Thanks very much.
Okay. Go ahead. Bruce here wanted to follow up with Carol's.
One of the things we've done today, we put out on our blog post, but we wanted to announce here at DNewTech was, oh yeah, I gotta
Forward
get the
to
lights.
light, yeah.
Great. It is no accident that we set up the office here in Detroit. As a successful company in Michigan, the success of Michigan, its economic state, is very important to us. And Detroit, if you're a Detroiter, of course, all of Michigan is in Detroit. The reality is, in Michigan, the way Detroit is and how strong it is economically plays to the rest of the state. So while Carl has talked about, oh, it's close and we have a lot of interaction between here, and you've heard the success that we've had in Grand Rapids, we are here specifically in Detroit to actually invest. Part of that investment to us is not just making a profit and paying a good wage to our employees. We believe that in order to be good stewards, we have to invest in things that are going on here. So before we even turn to profit here in this office, we already reached out to Detroit Public Schools and set up a one-day programming bit camp for 7th and 8th grade girls. We've gone on to support meetups like this, but we've also reached out to the programming community and created a whole new meetup group called the Lambda Lounge. It meets here once a month and discusses, it's like the uber nerd of all programming stuff. But it's a way we give back. This weekend, Girl Just Develop It, a new organization that has started here that is reaching out to women of all ages, will be doing a programming class here as well. Now, we're not the Dan Gilberts with all the millions to throw around, but if there was an intellectual throwdown, I'd put my money on him. We do have resources that we can continue to invest, not just the things that I've talked about. You've been in this space, you've seen how lovely it is. What if we took a company like what Carl was starting about that we've invested in for SpecDev, maybe the bar's a little lower, and they applied and they came and worked out of this environment? What if they took advantage of not only this environment, but maybe talking to some of our folks about the software? What if they took advantage of our snacks? We think that is another way that we as a company can invest not only in Detroit's economic comeback, but also in the comeback and the increase of the economic state here in Michigan as well. So I would encourage you to go out to our blog post and see we are looking for an early startup company, an early stage company. Some of the things that he talked about here are some of the criteria we're going to look at. So this isn't just somebody, I have a great idea. Go to the blog post that actually lists what we're looking for and share it with anyone you know. We would love to have an early stage company in here and hang out with them and have them share this location, encourage them, even report on their successes. If you have any questions about this, please come contact me afterwards. All right? Thanks.
I want to say again, top-notch presentation, Carl. I mean, I learned a lot. I mean, some of these words of wisdom, I think it's one of those things that you hear, you read about, but I think when you do it, it's totally different. So I can contest that there's a lot of these comments that Carl has used. I've actually implemented that in my startups. So, but nothing comparing to what you've done for Atomic Object. But in regards to what Bruce was mentioning, what they're doing, they're having their own meetups as well. Keep in mind that these are what DNewTech was doing was just throwing a pebble out there on the water or the river or lake, and hopefully ripple. And so other events like this comes along, and I think there's more than enough for a lot of these type of activities that goes around, especially for the interest of everybody else. Depending on what you want to hear. So by all means, I mean, doing some things like this is great news for the city of Detroit. So hopefully more of that will come out. So with that, let's go ahead and start with our first presenter. We're going to give it up to Grit Design. So basically, we have the whole company here, I heard.
No.
Except the only person that I made contact with, Andrea. She's out of town, Chicago, doing business. So I take it you're Jeremy?
I am.
So Jeremy, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about SizzlePig, right?
Sounds good.
All right, go ahead. Oh, wait. That's our videographer, so give him a few seconds.
Okay.
What I do now, let me just go ahead and say a couple of things. Basically, SizzlePig is the first offering follow the credence of helping others around the world create and publish digitally with the latest technology. So I'm going to let you basically explain what that means.
Okay.
We're not getting this.
You need power. Batteries.
Pardon me?
It's your battery.
Is it my battery?
I guess you get
There you go. Oh, there we go. Okay. So for some reason, it's
Well, while she's
presenting.
getting that started, I'll go ahead and get started. We're a company based out of Detroit. We've been around for about 3 years, 3 or 4 years.
There we go.
And we started out mainly as a services company, and SizzlePig is our first transition into a product offering. So the product we came up with is really to solve one of the problems that we've had with a lot of our customers and a lot of the products that we've been putting together for a lot of our client work, and that is maintaining all of the different size thumbnails, different size images for web pages. We typically end up with lots of thumbnail images, lots of, you've got a hero image, you've got small ones, they're in a lot of places. We've got challenges with responsive design, and it's really just about making sure that what we end up with producing and what our customers using SizzlePig end up producing has high quality graphics on the site. So here's kind of a layout, an infographic on all of the different thumbnail sizes and all of the different images and resolutions and products you have to work with. You've got low resolution and first generation phones, you've got laptops, you've got tablets, you've got Retina display with the 2X. So there's just tons of different image resolutions that you've got to account for. So one of the ways we handle this is we allow you to create a blueprint for all of the images that are going to end up on your site. You may be targeting iPad mainly, and you've got thumbnails and a lot of images. You kind of pick and choose which images you want to focus on. You get an idea of what each graphic is going to look like in each of those spots. So as you've got an image, you can look at each of the images that's going to be presented on your site and fine-tune them. If you've got a small image, you want to make sure that you're cropping and going into just the right area of that image instead of cutting somebody's face off, focusing on the wrong portion of the image. This gives you a really quick view into all of the images and how they're going to look and how they're going to get cropped. And then when you're ready and all the images look okay, you hit process, goes up into the cloud, and it produces all the images in very quickly. Our organization, each of the projects, so each of your websites or different things that you have, sections of the website, different projects, can be separated into projects. Each project has its own blueprint, so you can separate those out and have customizations for each one. So really, the main focus of the problem of the project is about maintaining the creative control over all of the assets on your site and giving the creative people in your organization the ability to go through and focus on what they want it to look like. We have a video.
Hopefully you can hear it, sorry.
But most websites have many sizes of the same image, and you'll probably have to do this to the other hundreds, maybe thousands of images. With all that work, you would like to have it done right the first time. Until now, the only way to do this was with batch image processing. Basically a set of commands that tells a computer what to do. This could take hours and hours to set up scripts for all your images. And most images aren't shot exactly the same way, so things might not come out the way you wanted. We've created something that finally gets rid of this problem. It's called Sizzle, a cloud-based tool that introduces the human touch into this archaic process. We do this simply with projects, blueprints, and fine-tuning, which all syncs to Dropbox. Simply add images to a project and create a blueprint. You can set up all the image sizes in one view, change image compression, and add image suffixes. When you save your blueprint, your images show up in all the sizes on one page. You can then click on any image and fine-tune the size and crop to your liking. When you're done, process the images, and SizzlePig saves them to your Dropbox. Have more images? Simply add them to your Dropbox folder. If you update an image, all of your settings will still be there. So go ahead and get back to design. We'll make the rest of your work easy.
Man, that is perfect time.
Yeah, perfect timing.
So with that, we'll take questions.
You should get an award for that.
Hey!
So usually we have 5 minutes for presentation, 5 minutes for Q&A, so let's drill them, guys.
The name Sizzle Pig, that's a tough question.
It evolved.
Oh, okay.
We were looking at doing Sizzle, and apparently that's already trademarked, so kind of
It's already
tossing some
taken
ideas around
every
the
single
office and
URL.
came up with Sizzle Pig.
You have a beta of this, or?
Yeah, we're currently in active beta, so you can go onto our site, you can sign up. We have 2 modes. You can run in kind of a trial mode, where the images that come out are watermarked. And other than that, we have 100 free images a month, or we have some pay plans that are...
Start at $10 a month.
Yeah, start at $10 a month.
I see on this slide here you say part of CMS, but you hadn't mentioned that at all. It seems like that would be a great use for this tool.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're actively working on making sure that it's integrated with CMSs that are out there. do we want to?
Right now, it's a way to integrate it into your workflow. We're working on various APIs that will hook into different CMS tools that are out there, but we are just in beta. So right now it connects through Dropbox and you can drag and drop your images into your CMS easily.
We tend to reach positive cash flow.
I'm just a developer.
Sooner than pie.
Yeah, the sooner the better, there you go.
Yes.
What problem is Sizzle Pig solving? Who is your customer?
Oh, our customer is people who have large blogs that want to kind of maintain and tweak the images they have. Enterprise customers typically have a lot of problems with, a lot of difficulties around this, and creative agencies that have a lot of assets on their page want to go through. A lot of them have solved the problem in the past by creating scripts, and the problem with scripts is it'll just very meanly crop exactly center the image, and usually what comes out of that is not what a designer wants to see on their site. So they really want to see something focused and cut some kind of artistic way, or some way that focuses on the product. So this gives us a way to get rid of the scripts, but still have that automation where they can go through, click a button, and it's all done instead of having to save each graphic out individually.
Is there competition currently in this space?
Not really. The main competition is the scripts. With Photoshop, you can run scripts to do it. You can hand do them in any of the scripting languages, but it's a pretty ugly process. Yes?
So to her questions, I can sort of answer them a little bit too. Hugely needed. For like the last 2 months, we've had this huge problem. Microsoft their Windows 8 became a large customer of ours, and the images was an issue because Windows 8 is displayed on so many different platforms, surfaces, the computer. We actually had to change our image library, had to upgrade to Getty images, but still we had the same issues with the pixelation, and then we had to put scripts to it. Literally probably spent a good 3 weeks we had to hire one developer just to work on this issue. And it's going to be a much bigger issue because most people don't realize how people are accessing your stuff through different formats and resolutions now. So,
yeah, I think that's been one of the major changes. The Retina displays, all the different phones, tablets, they're all different sizes, they're all different.
So one thing I was going to ask you guys, do you guys know those image libraries like Getty or Shutterstock? I don't know if you tried working with some of those, but that could be another biz dev play for you guys, because that's kind of where we start the working process versus just going the CMS route. Just an idea.
Yeah, so are you looking to integrate with responsive design templates and things like that, right? Like kind of out of the box? Are you looking towards that?
Most of what we have is kind of a manual process. I say manual, but you click on the button, size it the way you want it, and we have the option to select a 2x version of it. That may not be rolled out yet, but it's in the pipeline very soon. We are going to build in eventually templates, so you can select which one you want and kind of hit some of the main ones, but right now we don't have a
lot of the responsive design image programs out there right now just do scaling, automatic scaling of the images. So this is really useful when it comes to art-directed images in responsive design, where you want a different crop of an image at a different scale of or different size of your browser.
How many people on your team?
we have 12 total, I believe, in grid design, and it's a subset working on SysPig.
Any other questions? Hey, perfect timing there too. So, are you planning to upload it? Have the cable upload like to Google Drive or
we're
Dropbox?
considering lots of options. Dropbox is what we support right now, so in and out of Dropbox.
And direct upload is coming soon.
What?
Direct upload is coming
Yes,
soon.
direct upload.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Rashad.
Okay.
Rashad from Your Whip.
Do you need a phone?
Basically, while setting up, so you can connect to my computer. Basically, Your Whip is an automotive online marketplace and social media company to automotive dealerships, accessory shops, and automotive-related business to display their services. Contact for users to interact with social vehicles in the regions.
Yes.
So I'm going to let us give them the sign, Roger, when you're ready.
My name is Rashad Woods, and I've been on yourwhip.com for about a year. I was started in 2006 by a good friend of mine by the name of Sean Street. You can go to the second slide if it's possible.
Yeah, I'm going to get the presentation going here.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's kind of slow here. I haven't timed you yet, so don't worry.
No problem. I'm on your clock, that's for sure.
Okay, there we go.
Once again, yourwhip.com is an online automotive marketplace. Currently, right now, it's dominated by major players such as Cars.com, AutoTrader, Car Domain. We know that that's a growing market as far as social media is concerned. Now, on yourwhip.com, you have several different things that you can do when you actually log in. You can interact with other users, create groups. It's really socially interactive, and dealerships can also upload their inventories as well, too. And it has a large network reach, so if you want to be able to actually select a certain language that you want to have as a preference, we absolutely provide that option as well, too. If you want to add friends, talk to other users, and look at specific vehicle makes and models, you have that opportunity to do as well, too. Right now, we're working currently on a smartphone application. We know that everybody's gravitating towards that avenue. This is a screenshot of the demo that we currently have right now. It's going at a little snail's pace, but it is in progress right now. And right now, I'm not on the development side of it, so I just get the updates as they come. But that's just an example of how it works right now. That's our landing page. We're currently still doing some added developments right now, but you can see you can actually log in either with your Facebook profile. If you don't have one, you can create one as well, too. We have options for dealerships to have landing placement. And we also have the opportunity for people to look up Carfax reports as well, because we partnered with them, so that way if you want to purchase a vehicle in our buy and sell area, you have the option to pull the Carfax report directly from the vehicle, from our inventory as well, too. This is just an example of the profile page. As you can see, this is your wall. These are your friends right here listed. You have options of uploading videos, adding multiple photos. You can have one profile, but you can upload as much vehicles as you like as well, too. You can invite all your friends over from your respective social network, which in that case is Facebook. And we also have the opportunity to, once again, get updates from the current users and the postings as well, too. This is our buy and sell area. You can see the vehicles for sale right there. You can look at a make and model. You can actually see the map listed below of the respective area of where you're looking at the vehicle for. And you can also see where the contact dealer form is listed as well, too. So if you're interested in it, in a vehicle for purchase, you actually have the opportunity to go ahead and contact them either by email, phone call, and that's the best way you can follow up with them as well, too. And this particular vehicle actually has a Carfax report listed, so when you click on it, it takes you to Carfax's page, shows you the history of the vehicle so you can make a more informed purchasing decision. These are just some of the people that we've partnered with. We're going to add some of these features to the website as well, too. We added Hertz, so if you actually become a member on the website, you have an opportunity to get a discount from a Hertz rental as well as with Avis as well, too. We have Landing Tree Autos, which is going to be a good slide that I'm going to talk about briefly on the next upcoming slide, but you also have options to get discounts from these various partners listed as well, too. That's just an example. Right here is what Landing Tree Autos. Essentially what we decided to do, we reached out to them because what we wanted to do was have an opportunity that people wanted to purchase a vehicle. We wanted to make sure they had as much options available financially to look at what their options were. You have the option inside of your web, and this is currently in development too. This is just on the demo side of it, but it's getting uploaded. You can input your credit information, how much you're going to put for a down payment, what's your trade-in value for the vehicle, what the interest rate is, what state you're looking to purchase it in. So you could actually look at the options that you want to have available of a 60-month term, go to the next screen, input your information, and then it's going to spit out the best decision on what you can do, and it's going to send out to the financial institutions that you qualify for. So when you're ready to make a purchase, you've already qualified, you've already looked at your Carfax report, you're ready to make a vehicle purchase. And that's our contact information listed. Sean couldn't make it tonight, but I'm here. Don't ask me any technical questions.
Okay.
Yes.
What's your business model?
Our business model is geared towards the social avenue of bringing car enthusiasts on the website and then having advertisers of the automotive-related industries advertise throughout the website. In the past, we had tried to gear more towards business, but we ultimately realized that it was the users that had to be on there to make sure that we had the traffic to make a sustainable business model. Eventually, we're going to generate revenue from the Carfax reports and from the Landing Tree Autos when people make submissions. Ultimately, we're going to look for some sort of advertising avenue as well too, and having personal advertisement based on the preferences that people have for vehicle purchases. So you're not going to see a toothbrush advertisement on your page. You're not going to have to worry to see a weight loss supplement on your page. If you like Pirelli rims and you have a Chrysler 300, you're going to see things that are relevant to your profile page. Yes.
Yeah, Rashad, who's your target customer? Just anybody that's searching for a car to buy?
Correct. Ideally, between anybody who wants in the market for vehicles, the primary model of automotive purchases or people who go to sites like these are really males 18 or over. That's not to say women don't go, but that's the demographic search that we actually found. It was between 18 and 47, people who made $65,000 or more and had a college degree, because those are the people who primarily go on and look for vehicles and for purchases on websites such as cars.com and AutoTrader. So we understand that's the audience, but anybody who wants to look for a vehicle, or if you see something that you like, you can absolutely go on there as well. That's it.
How are you going to get people to know you exist?
What we did actually, we went to the SEMA show in Las Vegas. I didn't get a chance to go, but Sean and several other members of the team got a chance to go out. That's the biggest, largest aftermarket auto show in the world, actually. So they met with other other companies to let them know the word about the site. We're going on a lot of automotive forums, and actually 6 years ago we had an auto show at the Rock Financial Center, now known as the Suburban Showcase, to get the word out about the site. There's a lot of forums as well too, and a lot of car enthusiast groups, but they also have to go through something like Facebook, and I can't even talk negative about them, but they have to filter through a lot of other items to get to what they want to go to when it comes to car-related things. Here you can go right on there as well. This is a destination site, not a filtering site if you want to go to those particular avenues.
This might be a little bit of a technical question, but is your platform like wrapped around the Facebook platform, or are you guys developing?
We're developing from scratch. We're making some significant changes. We've got some good feedback. We've also got some feedback that we need to tweak some things to make sure it's a little more personal from what we look like. But we've developed things from the Joomla platform too. But anything past that, I'm in a room full of developers and I can't talk about it.
So you're geared towards social interaction and car buying. How do you plan on getting the stickiness of the users from coming back after they buy a car, when they're waiting for the next car?
We decided that when we tried to focus on just the car purchasing, we weren't getting the traffic that we needed. We wanted to make certain, like a good thing that we're going to do eventually is show off your car. If you bought nice rims, if you tricked out your car, you got them tinted, post it on the website, hold some sort of contest internally, let people vote on it. The most important thing is when, I reached out actually to a couple different local companies, like tire shops, like, hey man, would you be interested in just having people who got new rims on their car post their pictures right on the website? No cost to you, totally free. Car washes are local as well too. There's a lot of people who do foot traffic to consistent local businesses who all they want is an opportunity to find an avenue that's going to be best suited for their needs. So it's not to say that we would look at everybody as somebody that want to buy something. It'd be somebody who wants to get on there, talk to other people. Maybe they want to talk to somebody before they buy a car, like, how was your experience?
Any more?
Yes.
Have you considered putting up reviews of car dealerships and agents to work with?
Absolutely, yes. And the good part about that is that they're going to respond to that feedback pretty quickly as well, too. Yeah. Their reputation is on the line. And one of the things that's cool, too, is that we're going to have a news feed that's going to allow us, with our relationship with LendingTree, to have access to automotive-related items that people can view that are totally neutral because it's prevalent information, but it's customized specifically for yourwib.com. So people can always go on there and say, what's the latest things that are going on, whether automotive shows or reviews or things like that, too.
Cool. Any other questions? Got 30 seconds left.
How big is your market?
Yeah, for example, cars.com has like 3.7 million users, so potential is over 3 to 4 million users as long as we do our due diligence and track the traffic that we need to.
How much do you have now?
We peaked, since we revamped the site, we were about at 10,000 a month. We know we need to get about $1.5 million before we can actually start.
A month?
Correct. Absolutely.
Cool.
So everything I can get from car.com, I can get from, like, in terms
I'm not going to put myself out there and say that completely, but you have that option. That's what we're gearing towards. But unlike them, you can actually have the opportunity to socially interact with other users. Right now, you can just, on there, you can just post about a picture that you saw.
Okay.
We want to make it to where people can interact.
Thanks, Roshan.
Thank you.
Okay, Raj is giving me a sign that we can do one more before we switch the tape. So we're going to have Backstitch. Do we have the crew from Backstitch here? Jordan? Okay, there we go. While you're getting ready, so basically, Bruce? Backstitch is a personal web organizer that was launched into public beta in Mind back in September, and recently joined the Detroit startup Accelerate Bizdom, so another company part of the Bizdom family. So the Backstitch team consists of husband and wife, so it's a family-run operation.
Like the Cisco's.
Are there more food out there in back? So I guess if you guys, if there's any more food back there, you can help yourself, Dave. You want me to pull it up on mine?
No, I just hook it on my mouse. I can click through.
There's room to squeeze.
Is this the hook up here?
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
You know, this is part of your 5 minutes, right?
Make it quick then.
Bar. Something in there. I love it. I went to see it.
Great.
Yeah. So give it up to Jordan.
So my name is Jordan Rosecka. I'm the co-founder of Backstitch, which is a new style of interface for managing your personal web. So to kind of begin, just a little bit, some of the information was mentioned, but a little bit about us. We are a husband and wife team. We launched our public beta about 2 months ago, and recently, just about a month ago, we joined the Bizdom Fall 2012 class here in downtown Detroit. So now we're working out of the Madison, and we're both now fully full-time on Backstitch. So the problem that we're trying to solve with Backstitch is that we feel that the usability of the web is broken. So the web's been around now for about 20 years. It's gotten increasingly more complex, yet the way we interact with it every day has really remained unchanged. So in developing Backstitch, we looked at what we thought were 3 main issues in usability of the web. So the first is that information is fragmented. Our daily routine consists of jumping from site to site or app to app just to see the stuff that is relevant to us. Second is that layouts are inconsistent. Every website we visit displays information uniquely, which essentially is like learning a new user interface for every site we visit. And the third, there are so many great services out there that are complementary to each other, but they're really isolated from easily communicating. So for example, if I'm looking at a travel deal and I want to see relevant flight information or past user reviews, I might go to 2, 3 other websites copying and pasting information along the way. So how do we solve this? Well, at Backstitch, we create a process that we like to call semantic labeling. And what this does is it sits on top of existing developer APIs, and it provides meaningful definitions to otherwise disparate data. With this, we feel like we've been able to build a common user experience. So I'm going to go over some of the features that we have at Backstitch currently. So we've got a dashboard view where at a glance you can see what's going on right now across all your favorite networks. We've got type-based filters, so you can really narrow down just on the information you care about. So when it comes to travel, do you only want to see trips to Toronto that cost under $200? Or do you want to build curated lists of photos and comments and so forth, information from certain social networks from only certain people? You can do so very easily with Backstitch. Since Backstitch understands the meaning of information, it can actually provide automatically curated lists based on if it's just news or all your photos, regardless of the source. You can kind of view it in a nice timeline view. We've also built a common UI toolkit where articles are always going to look the same, daily deals are going to always be organized, you're going to see relevant information. If it's a hotel, we can show you automatically a map of that phone number, address. You don't have to hunt for price or shipping information. It's always going to be laid out in the exact same way. And since Backstitch understands the meaning of information moving in and out of different services, it will automatically provide relevant actions. So for example, say I'm looking at this Roomba here from a Woot.com deal, and Backstitch knows I'm a big Amazon shopper, I'm an Amazon Prime subscriber. It will automatically add a thing such as an Amazon Compare button, and it will be able to pipe into Amazon this information and provide me with product comparisons without ever leaving the application. You can also easily share to all your favorite social networks. And since Backstitch understands what networks you care about, you're only going to see those relevant to you. So if you're only a Facebook user, you're not going to see a Twitter or a LinkedIn button. It's only going to be tailored to your experience. So what's next for Backstitch? Well, we've been out for about 2 months now. We've been getting amazing feedback. So we're currently just evaluating that feedback, tweaking the product, listening to our users, really trying to find that right fit for our product feature set, as well as starting to work on our mobile experience. Right now it works best on tablets and on PCs. We really are focused on building the best mobile first experience on that. So once again, my name is Jordan Rosecka. You can feel free to shoot me an email into Jordan@Backstitch. There's a dot before the CH. And then you can find us across the web on Twitter, app.net, and Facebook. So any questions?
So this is like a mashup?
Yeah, so it's kind of brings in, it's trying to build an experience based on all different content types and using different services, whether piping in, bringing in, and being able to build controls on top of it.
Oh, it's like download a plugin or something?
So it's all in here. You can set up, we have sort of like service you add through kind of like a catalog or like an app store.
Did you want to get to see you again?
Good to see you again.
It seems like mobile's really the killer app for this. Are you planning on developing an application for Apple and for Android and for the new Windows Phone, and kind of how are you prioritizing that, and do you fundamentally agree with that statement?
Yeah, we definitely feel that mobile is mobile and tablets are the ideal platform for our application. We started with web just because it's been easier for us to quickly prototype and kind of change out features and so forth. But we have started working on towards building those mobile applications.
What are you learning from the feedback that you're getting from your
So our feedback has been amazing. It's been all over the board. It's been great seeing how people use it. Some of my favorite stories. We have one gentleman who uses it to stay when he stays in contact with his family. So he lives in a different state than his parents, and every weekend he calls his dad up who lives in Arizona, and so he actually keeps a whole set of information related to what's going on local with his father, and so he has what's relevant to him, and then also what's relevant to his family. So he has topics of common conversation. So we're seeing people using it for that. We're seeing it. People that just want to see, they're tired of going to 5 daily deal sites a day, and so they can bring those right next to their news. And so we're finding some great use cases and learning kind of a lot about what different people are using it for. The media, we've been featured in TechCrunch, we have little blogs, we've been compared to so many different services. It's kind of interesting hearing what everyone else's take on our services. In the back corner?
Like the reason to choose like a domain with the ends in CH versus .com.
So we really like the name Backstitch. The reasons is our whole things we're in the background stitching together content. A backstitch in sewing is very easy and versatile. Really kind of what our mantra is. And so .com was taken.
Aren't you in the front end because you're taking the backs and all those other things and letting me have a much better front end experience. So you're really like. So it's a better interface than me going to all these. Like I just registered just now, and I see value in it already. Because I have a better interface. I don't have to go to as many. I don't have as many tabs as open actually, and so it's easier on one. It's like a radar screen almost.
Yeah.
So.
He started out asking why we decided on the .ch domain name. Pretty much, it's being domain squatted right now. We really like the name Backstitch, and we kind of like in the address bar, you kind of just see the word Backstitch, which is kind of nice and clean in itself.
Yeah, are you working out like your revenue model right now? I mean, are you working off of like Amazon, affiliates, or maybe a pro version down the line?
Yeah, we actually do have some affiliates right now with some of our daily deal providers where if somebody purchases something to the site, we get a percentage of that purchase. We experiment with that. We have a few other things that we're working on right now. And right now with our accelerator, we're working with some potential partners and kind of ironing out different monetization strategies.
Without sharing any secret ingredients, what is it that you did to get into the Wisdom program? I know that a lot of my buddies have tried and getting some to see some success. So what is your experience has been?
So our experience was kind of a little odd. It was kind of after kind of application period closed, and we were still looking for, I guess, some other companies that may be adding a late addition. So we were actually added as a late stage, and we just met some people that are in their existing. It was in the last class. We had some contacts with, and just talking about their experience with the Detroit startup scene, and showing them our products and the early traction we got. And so we just kind of form connections that way, and we're able to kind of meet Maria, who was fantastic, the recruiting leader at Bizdom, and she just kind of was really interested in what we're doing and just kind of led the conversations that way. What's it?
No, I've heard like Maria talked about how talented you guys are, and this thing could obviously do a lot of different things. Like the iGoogles, and there's a couple of those other ones. They like stopped innovating around that. Like they could have made it. Any reason why? Like your thing just seemed a lot more Web 2.0-ish and more friendly. So I guess my question is, what technology do you use to build this on? And then, do you ever look in the history of iGoogle? Like why? I mean, I know people use it like crazy, but it seems like this is a better version of iGoogle in some respect.
Well, thank you. So actually, a lot of our users do come. They're kind of the expats from iGoogle because they're shutting down the service actually next November. And really for that service, for why they kind of got stale on it, that I'm not quite sure on. I think a big reason for their abandoning the product is now that one of the co-founders of Google's kind of come back in the role of CEO, they're really trying to focus on the core. For many years, Google was known as the 100 different directions, the labs projects, and they're really kind of starting to cut the fat and really focus on the core. And so that's kind of the reasons like these products, that were kind of on the edges, kind of fell off. But we actually have a lot of people come from iGoogle. We've been compared to them. We feel like we can fill that void. We're not a direct, we don't offer slider puzzles and all those little kind of goofy widgets. We're really focused on a content experience. So we can fill some of those voids, but actually a lot of our users have come who used to use those products. And I guess to answer your other question as far as what we built on, it's so the middle tier is all Ruby on Rails, and so is the back-end processing. The front end's all CoffeeScript, Backbone JS, real kind of modern technologies.
Okay, one more question. Go ahead.
How do you generate revenue?
So we're currently working on ironing that model. We have a lot of different ideas. We're working on some partnerships, and so we're not really disclosing any of those kind of ideas yet because we're not even really sure ourselves. We're hitting on a few different
So it's free to the user?
Yep, exactly. Right now it's completely free. You can sign up at Backstitch. It's backsti.ch.
Richard, did you want to say one more?
I'm just going to ask, what are your 3 biggest challenges right now?
So really, I think our 3 biggest challenges are really one challenge. It's becoming the new habit. So for us, we are trying to become the new morning routine. You get into work, you got your coffee, you're going to check this site, and we're trying to make that a lot easier and quicker process, but it's still replacing the habit to form a new habit. And so that's really what we've been finding is our biggest challenge.
Let's give up for the last presenter. I don't know if they're here. Is for Freshwater Transit. So, okay, cool. You feeling better?
All right. Oh no, that's Steven.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
So,
and then Neil he's actually had another engagement that came up. We had a PDF that you sent you.
Yep, I'm going to set
Okay.
up. But anyways, one of the things I want to talk about Freshwater Transit is it's a great concept. Actually, I heard them at TEDx.
Yep,
right?
TEDx, yeah.
Detroit. And I mean, from what the designs and the grid.
Yeah.
For a non-existing product, you must go in detail in creating this whole dimension of grids.
And you will see it's all vector graphics. Neil, who's on our team, loves vector graphics. He's actually a map maker.
Awesome.
So everything looks really cool. Now, everybody else here has had a PowerPoint slide. We actually have a PDF document because we're that cool. So it means that I'm not going to be able to go through it slide after slide. But that means that hopefully you'll be able to focus a little bit more on the discussion, which is really where it's at. So my name is Tom, and I'm with a group called Freshwater Transit. Freshwater Transit is a nonprofit that's dedicated towards improving transit in the Metro Detroit region. So, first thing is, well, why am I here at a developers conference talking about new technologies and all that stuff? Really, the answer to that comes in this question. Out of everybody here right now, and this is the audience participation part, how did you get down here to this meeting?
We drove.
Drove? Anybody walk? Walk? I walk too. Walk, okay, so you got a couple. Okay, anybody take a bike, like a pedal bike? All right, that was kind of cool. But who drove and parked and paid to park? There you go. Why didn't you take the bus? Okay, there's no bus. You're basically right. Well, there are buses, but guess what? There's none that really come down here. So that's a problem that we need to solve. I'm not sure if any of you here know of the website's called Deadline Detroit. And there's a gentleman, Jeff Watrick, and he's a reporter, and he tried to get from Ferndale, where he lives, to right downtown where he works. He was not able to do it. He had to take a bus from Ferndale, where he lives, over by 9 Mile, down to 8 Mile, sit outside for over half an hour to wait for a DDOT bus to get it down there, then buy another ticket, get onto the DDOT bus, and then come all down Woodward. It's a process that took him about 2 hours or so, which in a car takes you about, 15 minutes or so? What if we had a much more sensible form of transportation here? What if we had a system that people could actually use? Think about how that would change our entire region around. There's at the beginning we talked about how Detroit's economy and this whole region's Detroit really impacts the entire state. Well, honestly, it impacts the entire country. General Motors is here with the optional democracy. Automobile is really refined here. Detroit, how Detroit goes, so does Michigan, so does the United States. And if we have effective transportation here, man, just think how that would allow so many more people to get jobs, so many more people who already have jobs to actually get to those jobs on time so that they can keep them. How it would allow people to actually get to school on time for any age, people who are in K through 12 public school, even people who are trying to work at their job and then get quickly over to their graduate school seminar at night. Why, though, be here right now with this? This is a very broad concept, and a lot of people say, well, we've been talking about this for 20, 30 years, and nothing's been done. That's why we're different. People have always talked about this as a top-down approach. We're going to fund the Department of Transportation to do this. We're going to throw some money at this. We're going to write a piece of legislation. In this slide right here, people talked a lot about the R. We're Wayne County, we're Detroit. Well, we're not Wayne County, we're Detroit, we're separate, right? People talk a whole lot about the A, which is the authority part. Well, who has governance over this, who has governance over that? But the discussion has not been around the T. And the T is the transit. The T is what actually gets people from point A to point B. There's a better way of doing it. And that's a top-down, that's a bottom-up community approach. Freshwater Transit is actually a 501c4 nonprofit organization formed by people who live in the city of Detroit and in the metropolitan region who want to come together and say that we're not going to stand for government or the private sector messing up our transportation anymore. We are forming with the goal of, at least as an interim goal, of bidding on management of the DDOT bus system, Detroit Department of Transportation. For those of you who may know, obviously everybody knows that Detroit's in a financial crisis, and as part and parcel of that, Detroit is trying to get rid of management of certain day-to-day activities. They're trying to privatize their various units of government. They did this with the Department of Public Health. They spun that out into a 501c3 organization that was separate from the city, took the liabilities off their books. They want to do the same thing with the Department of Transportation, and they will be doing that over the next 6 to 8 months. But now the question is, who gets that contract? There are multinational corporations, multi-billion-dollar huge companies, for-profit organizations that exist to go in and take over management of transportation systems. Veolia and TransPro, Parsons Bricknerhoff are just a couple of names. They make money by cutting service. They make money by cutting wages. They make money by taking away retirees' employment or retiree benefits. What we want to do is come in as a nonprofit and say, we're going to run this. Let's say you guys spend $10 million, City of Detroit, per year on bus service. We'll do it for you for $9.75 million, but we're going to make it so those buses, they come on time. We're going to make it so those buses are clean. We're going to make it so those buses can run for longer before they break down and they need maintenance. Whereas a Veolia or a for-profit company from outside of the region is going to come in and say, we're going to do it for $8 million a year by cutting this line, cutting that, reducing the number of buses that we have, reducing the number of employees. There's a better way of doing it. One interesting statistic, and I know my time is getting few. The transportation lines we have right now for our buses haven't really changed in about 100 years. Detroit used to have a streetcar system in addition to a bus system. We got rid of the streetcar system about 30 years ago, but we still kept the same bus lines in the same way. As well, our population has drastically shifted, moved out of certain areas, moved into other areas, and the bus lines haven't flipped around. There's a way that we can, as Detroiters, take over our system, run it better, run it so that it's more effective for the employees as well as more effective for the participants. And that's when we can broaden out the options that you'll have. So next time we have this meeting, you can say, yeah, I took the bus, yeah, I took the rail to get here. We're just a startup. We've only been doing this for about a month or so here. But we're coming to you today because the expertise that you guys have in problem solving and programming, the innovative ideas, the sizzle pigs and the atomic objects, you guys are exactly the talent that we need to solve our transit problems. Traditional transit planners are great, and Neil and a couple of people on our staff are transit planners, and that's great. But we need new ideas, we need fresh ideas. We need people to come in and say, you guys have been doing it wrong this long, and here's how you fix it. Here's how you can bring in a new software-based, IT-based solution to your problem to make it better. So we're coming to you today just to introduce ourselves and just to let you know a little bit more about Freshwater Transit. We are on Facebook. Please feel free to go and check us out, like our page, stay involved. We have office hours at Park Bar every Monday. Yes, usually downstairs. No free beer. That happened once, but don't count on it. So please feel free to come by. They're usually about 7 till whenever, I'd say about 10. Depends on how heated our discussions get. But come by, check us out. If you'd like to get involved, we're working on starting to market ourselves, and we could use any and all skills that you bring. So with that, questions?
Obviously, you're new. You're a month old. Congratulations on the startup. Do you have any hypotheses about what you're actually going to do operationally to help fix this mess?
Yes. So the number one thing that we're going to do is we're going to readjust the lines. There hasn't been, there's a concept, it's actually called the gravity concept, and I'm not a transportation planner by any stretch of the imagination, but they were explaining to me that it's called a gravity concept. And so basically you look at an area and you look at its population densities, and they are the areas of gravity, the areas of highest mass, thus highest demand. How do you create the most efficient lines to connect those areas? That's what we need to do. That analysis has not been done. If you go through and you redraw certain lines, you can make them more effective so that more people will use them. More people use them means more revenue. If more people use them, then you're going to have more demand, so there'll be more buses running on them. Ergo, they'll be more frequent. You end up getting to a better situation. So we just need to replan the system. Obviously, there are certain things that we would have to look at in terms of legacy costs and the maintenance and stuff. That's where we look to you guys, to other people, to bring that experience, and usually that out-of-the-box experience to allow us to come up with new solutions. So we've done some of the work for your question, but we are still proceeding forward. Whoever wants to go. There we go. Okay, right here.
Now, have you looked at any other models, like other cities, like U.S. and like Europe and Asia, what they're doing?
Yes, and this is actually, that's a great question. This has a lot of precedence. This is not unprecedented by any stretch of the imagination. One of the most relevant examples of another Midwestern Rust Belt state with a large population center that did this is Milwaukee. Milwaukee's transportation system is actually managed by a locally run nonprofit. They might be 501c3, whatever C4, not too sure, but it's community members who came together with the experience, and they were able to actually successfully outbid the large, I call them foreign competition, to manage their system. And Milwaukee puts up their system for bid every 5 years. The government just throws out that RFP. The local nonprofit has done it so well, Veolia and Transpro, they don't even bid on it anymore. They know they're not going to get it. They know that the local people are going to be able to do it so much better than they would that their application is not even going to be considered.
So let's assume that you get the award. What would be the first thing that you do? Because you just talked earlier, you talked about the Ferndale to downtown Detroit. What would you do? Because about 60% of the residents of Detroit actually work in the suburban. And what would be the first thing that you do? Because
can you repeat the question?
Sure. So what would be our first thing that we can do, going back to my example of the link between the city and the suburbs with that bus line? Something that we would be looking to do would be to actually see if we could draw the DDOT lines in such a way to be more effective, so they might even cross that barrier. There's nothing saying that DDOT can't go. There's nothing saying that a DDOT bus has to stop at 8 Mile. That's more of a practical, political consideration that somehow came into effect that, well, we don't want our buses running in some area where nobody's paying for them. We have in this area, just to kind of recap, 2 bus systems that run simultaneously. We have SMART as well as DDOT. DDOT paid for by the city of Detroit mostly. SMART is paid for by actually County Department of Transportations. That's done through not only fares, but also anybody who owns a house or has a business or property here, you pay a certain amount of mills that go into SMART and also DDOT. So there's nothing saying that SMART can't come into the city more. There's nothing saying that DDOT can't go out of the city more. We think that they should. We think that we can't have this division, that one stops at 8 Mile, the other picks up. There needs to be more interconnectedness. By taking over DDOT, that's one thing that we would try to work on, is to bring the 2 closer together. Yeah. I don't want to get into the politics of it, but yes. So,
are you working together with TRU and Megan Owens over there?
Yes, actually, we had an event over at Park Bar. It was kind of a kickoff event about 3 weeks ago or so, and Megan came out with True. We also, for those of you who know Moses, Michael Tassi over at Moses, we've worked with them. We have great relations, whereas they're more on the advocacy side for the politics. In that pie chart, they focus a little bit more on the A, we focus a little bit more on the T. So we're actually concerned with how can you make the bus run more effective? How can you make it so that the driver actually gets a bathroom break? It's kind of weird, but actually Detroit DDOT drivers don't get bathroom breaks. And what effect does that have on your transportation? I'm going to bet that if you let the drivers have bathroom breaks, you're going to have a lot happier drivers, they're going to be driving a lot better, and a lot better customers. Yes.
I've got a question for you, and I apologize in advance that I'm not more knowledgeable of the transportation system in Detroit. I lived in New York for 17 years. Detroit is my hometown, and I'm 2 weeks back to Detroit. But my question is this: one of the things that we always talk about in the startup world is, what problem are you solving, right? So here is the situation that I'm having. In New York, we have several modes of transportation: buses, trains, subways, bike paths. And the problem is, the reason why I do believe that public transportation in New York has to work, because driving a car in New York City is just simply a pain in the ass. Okay, not only is it a pain because of the traffic, but also parking in New York City. It's probably upwards to $35 to $50. I was happy to pay $5 to come to downtown Detroit to park. Also, my parents live out in the suburb, and it's just a habit. But I leave probably about an hour and a half before I've got to come to the city. Why? It's just because I'm used to it. It takes me probably 30 minutes to get from Southfield to downtown. So my question is because transit, driving a car in Detroit is so easy. I mean, in terms of there's no traffic on the road that I've experienced. It's only $5 to park all day, or at the most 10. Is transportation something, public transportation, is that something that Detroiters are really calling for? Is that like a problem in Detroit?
Yeah, and that is a very valid question. And there's one thing to consider too. We here are privileged, and I think that most of us are very privileged, that we have the ability financially to own automobiles. And these are automobiles that, like, I just took my car. I actually drove down to Chicago the other week. My buddy said, hey, let's go. I didn't have to worry that my car was going to break down. I knew that I'd be able to go stick my credit card into the machine and I was going to be able to get gas and afford it. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, especially those who have been hit hardest by this recession, looking at the east side of Detroit, the west side of Detroit, even now into some of the suburbs like Southfield and Oak Park, reliable transportation is just not there. There's no opportunity. Let's say that you have a job and you work at McDonald's, you're making minimum wage. You might be able to get a car. You might be able to get a nice, 10-year-old Focus, great cars. But unfortunately, after 10 years, you're not going to, maybe the car breaks down. 10-year-old cars do that. Well, what are you going to do? You have to shell out hundreds of dollars for replacement. What does that then do to your budget? Are you able to get food? Are you able to care for your family? There's a demand for transit because at least it's another option. In New York, it's really a way that you can just rely on it. It's reliable. You can just say, hey, this is my primary means of getting around. Here, we hope that it gets to that point, but where the need is not for it to be that primary option so far. It's that need for the secondary option for us here, for us to have flexibility to say, man, I don't want to pay $15 to go to that Tigers game. It cost me $15 for the ticket. I don't want to pay $15 to park. Plus, I want to go out drinking. I like to go out to the bars. So you know what? I'm just going to take the train down, or I'm going to take the bus down. Don't have to worry about parking. Get to go out to my bar and have a good time. Don't have to worry about anything else. The bus takes me back home, and I feel safe the entire way. That's what we're trying to solve.
I'm curious, if you get to the point where you're hugely successful, you win the contract, hugely successful, and bus traffic is up 300%. Is there budget to accommodate that? I mean, if it's hugely successful, can you afford it?
Yes, yeah. The great thing is that public transportation is self-perpetuating. It's not self-funding. Don't let me mislead you that way. Fares will generally only cover maybe 30 to 50% of all the money that it costs to run a public transit facility. New York, for example, I think it's like somewhere in the 30-40% range from the actual fares. The rest comes from government. Yeah, and so the rest comes from government support. Now, currently we have DDOT. It's actually a line item. So every single year, the city council has to vote how much they're going to give to DDOT. That sucks because that means DDOT can't plan for the future because they don't know what's going to happen to city council, or the city council could rescind that money. What would be cool is if we could get really successful, that's going to change the political mindset. That's going to allow us to possibly use this new RTA stuff that they're talking about to create an alternative funding stream. So we have fares increase, we have 300% increase, we would have an increase in fares. We could also then have an increase in alternative sources of revenue coming into the system through people who might be more amenable to having like a millage. We have a millage for the DIA and the zoo now. Well, let's have a millage for DDOT. Or, let's do some form of a registration fee tax. There's alternative ways that we could look at it, but really the success would not only drive our finances, but it would also drive political mindset, which thus goes back to finances.
One thing I have to confess was that when before I even heard you guys at TEDx, I thought this whole was a full operational thing. So what I did was I called them up. It was in November, DNewTech. I called a day before saying, how can I get a ride on their transit? And it was Neil that told me, well, this is just a whole idea because I went to the website. It looked like it's a full running operation.
It's really cool. We started out with, just to background, we started out with this entity, we called it Freshwater Rail, and Neil came up with it. The idea was connecting familiar dots with different lines. Okay, so he created this full map, and it looks just like a New York Metro map. It's so cool, and it's got like a dot for Central Station. It's got like the Great Lakes line, which runs out to Ann Arbor and then up to East Lansing, and it's so cool. But it's just simply something that we're using to change the mindset around. Because if you start thinking like that, that's when you open yourself up to possibilities that in Michigan we can have this too. It's not just New York or DC or wherever. We can have this too.
I think it's an awesome idea. I mean, I own an electric vehicle, and my car going to take me 30 miles before I have to put gas, and I hate putting gas.
Oh, I hate putting gas. Driving to Chicago, I had to put too much in there. But please make sure you come by at Park Bar. Like I said, Mondays usually about 6, 7 o'clock. You just come on by, look for me or Steven, like us on Facebook. please feel free to get involved, and we would love any help you could provide us.
Awesome. That's it. Actually, this is
Got events.
Yep, that's Milton's the one that's usually running this. So usually we normally let everyone know what events are coming up, and I can share with you from DNewTech. There's 2 events coming up. One is with Mid-Michigan Innovation Center out in Midland. Again, I mean, that's 2 hours away. Who wants to drive there for a party? But keep in mind that a lot of startups, I mean, one of the things that Carl mentioned today is, you got to know these investors. I mean, as a startup company, you got to know what the mindset with these investor things. So just going up there and just mingling with these, or networking with these, with the not only Blue Water Angels, but some of the mentors up there, it gives you an idea that everything's interconnected. I mean, you don't understand how this accelerator program, how MADC is running all this. This is all tied together. So just keep in mind that it's coming up on December 20th. It's a Thursday, I think, and they have an open house. And so if you're available, go up there. It's a great venue. We also have one coming up in January 9th, which is our next DNewTech. Is our first of the year event. The cool thing about it is we got David Tarver. I don't know if you guys ever heard of David. He's actually was a presenter at the TEDx Detroit. Started a business back in the 80s. Sold his business about 10 years ago in the Roadblock. It's a great success story. Never needed a VC, never needed an angel investor. Did it with just a loan and made something out of himself. So come out and listen to him. We're going to be at the next Energy Building. Roger?
Yeah, you might want to carpool. Maybe go through the DNewTech site if you need to carpool to Midland. That would be a good way to spend 2 hours. Tomorrow night is Entree Slam, which is a new kind of a meetup thing going on in Ann Arbor, but the Concentrate Media is hosting a presentation of it at Connor O'Neill's from like 5 o'clock till 7 o'clock. They're actually going to run an Entree Slam. Entree Slam is kind of like a Moth Radio Hour storytelling, but from a startup entrepreneurial point of view. So if you have a startup story that you think would be entertaining in the Moth Radio Hour type idea, you can actually compete that night, tomorrow night, and there's cash prizes. And the sponsor is buying drinks for free. So
it's like improv.
Good reason to go. Improv. And I guess it's not too early to remind everybody about ACE 13 coming up January 31st. It'll be in Livonia this time instead of Ann Arbor.
At the Marriott?
It'll be at...
okay.
Yeah, and it's $13 because it's the 13th year.
If you're not presenting...
You get more than $13 worth of food.
Yeah.
Then all the content is for free.
If you're not presenting, I mean, if you can sponsor a booth, exhibit. If not, just attend it. It's a great venue to kind of look at.
Also, I'm not sure if I'm like allowed or supposed to be saying anything, but I found out today that one of the things they're going to be doing differently at ACE this year is last year they had sort of like an experts corridor where they had
consultant corridor,
or consultants corridor. This year they're actually taking it a step further. They have a few like expert tables where you can actually, as an attendee, you can sign up for 20-minute sessions with some experts there. So I'll be at a table where you can sign up and ask me about how to build minimum viable products, or figure out what not to build.
A lot of free advice.
Anybody? Bruce, when's your meetup? You said you guys have
Lambda Lounge. It's usually the first Wednesday of the month. I'll make sure it goes out. Okay. All right. I think we're done, guys.
I got one too. 10. Yeah, this Saturday, U of M Future Tech Conference as well is going on. That's a good one. Check it out.
All right, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing.